I said, are you ready? By the way, they can see you and hear you
Yes.
now. Hi, everybody. I asked if
I
you were ready.
I said yes to that. And then you said, can the people see and hear you? And I'm like, I don't know.
I think you misheard me. Anyway, hi, everybody. Welcome to the show. Dana was swearing.
If y'all were patrons, you would know. Holy smokes. Did that one go up? I think the July one did. I posted that, right?
I
The
believe
sweary
so.
one.
I believe
So
so.
like the last two podcasts that I've done on my Patreon have been when I've gone down to Atlanta to work, or the Atlanta area, Tucker, Georgia, officially, to
Indeed.
work at the Union State headquarters. Yay. And I specifically, so that is a trip that's longer than the usual commute pod. So I specifically started the second one a little bit earlier on the drive back so that people get a taste of what it's
Yeah.
like to listen to me in even not in like Atlanta traffic, but like, on the interstate coming out of Atlanta, like well past, like we were outside 285. So
Yeah, there were
Vilcata.
definitely. Yeah, we've ruined Vilcata, or you have specifically.
You say ruined. I think, blessed.
Improved.
Hashtag blessed. I don't know if we can improve Vilcata, but yeah,
Encouraged to grow as a person.
got impatient waiting for something and absentmindedly said TikTok Shives. That is like,
that's beautiful.
That is delightful. That absolutely delighted me. That is one of the things that I have liked today. So,
well, good.
So there's
255 wait a minute. 255 AD says, you know what's left me since Biden stepped down and Harris stepped in? A looming sense of dread. Can you relate? Yep.
Really?
I didn't have the looming sense. I didn't have it as bad as I think 255 AD had it.
Yeah.
But I do definitely feel not just that Harris is stepping in, but the response to it, the energy, the excitement. That really,
because when I first heard
up.
about it, I was like, oh God, oh God, oh God. But then when I saw how people were responding, I was just like, oh
yeah.
Have you seen the "We Are Not Going Back" chant video?
Yes. I saw it on my own. Yeah, but yeah.
I said that to my mommy.
Oh.
It just like, and I watched it again. It absolutely gives me chills. The way they stop clapping, like, or either that or they're clapping so on the beat. Which, come on, I mean, there got to be white folks in that crowd somewhere. So I don't know about them staying on beat. But
the black folks are like, no, like this, like.
and like the way it's just their voices, and it's just it not even gave me chills so much as just like something.
Yeah.
One of the songs that I learned when I was in choral competitions when I was in high school pops into my head because it's in Italian, and so the aria is called Sento nel cuore, and it's the English translation is, there's a feeling in my heart, almost a pain that disturbs my peace. There's a little light that bursts up that ignites my soul. If it's not love, it's gonna be. I'm like, that's like splende una face che l'alma accende, that ignites my soul. It's like, wait, this feels uncomfortable. I'm not used to this. This is unusual. This is unfamiliar. This is good. It's like it's exactly that I remember from decades ago, and I'm like, this is what they were talking about. I didn't realize it was about politics. But it's just,
it feels like, and it's weird to say this because she's been Biden's vice president, so it's not like a complete changing of the guard, but it feels like a turning of the page. It feels like, you know, we were all sort of just dug in and we're like, all right, let's reelect
We're gonna
Biden
do
because he's
this.
the best we've got. And I was optimistic. You know, I wasn't like, I was never a doomer that was like, oh, it's over. You know what I mean? But it was kind of like, all right, Biden's our guy. Let's reelect Biden. And it was a matter of necessity, you know, not a matter of like super
Yeah.
exciting, like, yay. And now it kind of feels that way. It kind of feels like, oh, actually, maybe better things are possible. And not that Kamala is like the greatest candidate ever, but she's a lot more progressive than I think some people, especially people further to the left than me, give her credit for. Not on everything, obviously, but on a lot of things. And just the idea of, oh, it's someone who's my mom's age instead of my grandmom's age. You know what I mean? And like that makes a difference like that, because my grandmother would be 87, 88 this year if she were still alive. And
that everybody else has shorter generations than my family does.
Yeah, yes, my parents are in their 60s. Your parents are in their 80s.
Yes, my mom is almost as old as your grandma would be.
My grandma, well, yeah, she would be, if she were still alive this year, she would be 89. She was 85 when she passed away, and that was in 2020. So
my dad just turned 84.
Well, there you go. Well, he's not too far behind.
So yeah, it's very now. Okay, so I haven't looked at ages or anything. Was Obama like a late boomer, or was he early Gen X? I feel like people are talking about Harris.
I think he would count as a late boomer. He was born in the early 60s. So a very late boomer.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think Obama's quite Gen X. But I mean, it's, why quibble over minutia? I mean,
not so much, but I mean, essentially it has for a long time, it's kind of felt like, the people coming into, the new, like, I mean, Vance is a millennial, isn't he? Please tell me he's not an X.
What, Vance? Oh, yeah, he's younger than I am. Yeah, he was born in 1984. Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess we're cuspers, technically. So yeah, he's a millennial, and it feels like it's shifting from, honestly, Trump also is silent gen, like Biden is. So they're pre-boomers. And so but it feels like it's shifting really from boomers skipping us and going, and so to have somebody who's, technically actually of our generation is kind of nice, because generation, the reason we're called Generation X is because, nobody pays attention to us. Nobody cares, which sometimes is kind of nice. Like, it's kind of nice
to fly
under the radar.
No pressure.
Pizza. So I like the streaming media saying he's Gen X adjacent.
Yeah, he's been adopted by Gen X. The Gen Xers will claim him, even if technically he's not part of the cohort.
And especially with Kamala being, younger and having had sort of a more varied career in politics, because Biden was a senator for a long time.
Yes, and he was a senator from a relatively young age. Like, he was a senator, I think, like, he was elected before he even turned 30. So, yeah.
I need to wait. These are so hot. I'm gonna burn the roof of my mouth.
Well, then you should wait and just take your first bite when we start watching the show in a few minutes. But yeah. But yeah. 255 AD points out that Harris is 59, which that's a reasonable position. 59, 60 is not that old these days with current life expectancy. It's old enough to have a lot of experience and to have learned a lot of things, and hopefully gotten good at the things you need to be good at to be the president, but not, it's not like, oh gee, she's so old, is she going to make it through the term? You know what I mean? It's like, no, she's still a relatively young, healthy person.
And I'm the thing I will say is, I'm not so much I'm not so much excited about Kamala as a there went the teeny little burp, got caught up in it. As a candidate and as a president, because I was really excited for Obama. Like,
so was I.
Yes, we can as a slogan, but right at the beginning, when he picked Arnie Duncan as his Secretary of Education, I was like, you could have had Linda Darling Hammond. I mean, because her name was another one that I was hearing. I was like, yes, she is, like, she's progressive. I mean, like, the things that she has published about education are like, yes, she knows what she's talking about. This is great. And then he didn't pick her. And I was like, and then, you know, after all of the frustrations and the friggin' money that got dumped into No Child Left Behind,
yeah,
instead of getting rid of that, it got ramped up with Race to the Top. I'm just like,
yeah.
And that just really was discouraging. And so Obama ended up being much more centrist and much more hawkish than I wanted.
Well, yeah.
And, you know, and so my experience with that, with being like, oh my gosh, here's somebody who is, you know, different and, you know, can push for changes. And to some degree, I think, you know, as the first Black president, you know, that was so much of a change that it may have been difficult for him to push for maybe the progress that he wanted. And just maybe I didn't have a good picture of who he was and what policies he actually espoused.
I think with Obama, a lot of it was Obama and his cabinet, his people, they made the decision that healthcare reform was going to be their top priority.
Yeah.
And that they were going to do what Clinton had failed to do, and they were going to actually pass like meaningful progressive healthcare reform. And that took up pretty much all of his time in the first 2 years of his term. In the first 2 years of his first term, which is the only time he would have been able to do it, because after the first 2 years, there were the midterms and the Democrats lost total control of Congress. So, I mean, he got the Affordable Care Act, you know, as diminished and, you know, compromised as it was still at least a significant act of healthcare reform. And he got that done like literally the only time he could have done it. And, you know, and so, I mean, you could go back and say, well, he should have done other things, or he should have tried to accomplish a broader spectrum of reforms. And I mean, it's hard, you know, I'm not going to argue with that. There are a lot of things people hoped for that he didn't do, but
I will say, I think, you know, given Kamala's history as, you know, a prosecutor, I think, and again, with my experience of, you know, having these, you know, sky high hopes, and I was younger too, for Obama, and then, oh, it didn't go the way I wanted it to, you know, my not just my expectations, but my hopes are much more moderated.
Yeah.
But I think what has been most inspiring, and not just like, oh, it inspires me, but just like, oh gosh, yes, there is hope, is just that response, which, I mean, I was just expecting people to be like, oh, well, you know, Biden can't make it, and now we're stuck with Kamala. And to see people actually being excited about this and being mobilized for it, I'm like, okay, it's not that I have a lot of hope in her as a candidate or as a president, but I have a lot more hope in my fellow Americans than I did before.
Yeah.
And that's,
well,
that's something that I didn't have with Obama.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very, you know, he was a very, I mean, great speaker. I mean, come on.
Oh,
the guy can speechify like nobody else.
Yeah.
But, you know, but with Kamala, it's different, because my inspiration has not come from her specifically, although she's great, she really is, but from the way that I've seen people respond, it's like, I have more hope in us. And
yeah,
I don't know if I've ever had that much hope in us as a people, and that's really cool. So we'll see.
I agree. Oh, and Alice also, yes, I forgot to mention the financial crisis that Obama had to deal with, like literally from the moment he stepped into office, and that took up a lot of oxygen as well. So yeah, I mean,
essentially the fallout from some of the fallout from 9/11 and the, you know, the money that was spent.
Well, and you know, the thing about
a lot.
The thing about like political idealism and political optimism, it always eventually runs into reality. And if you're not ready for that, that can feel
Yes.
like you hit a wall. That can feel incredibly disillusioning. But
I'm
what
seeing
I
in
have
my
found,
feed some plans for that. Like, here's what we're expecting to see. Here's where we're expecting to get pushback. Let's make plans.
yeah,
And I like
well,
that too.
and I mean,
Also, look, don't we look very political?
we do, yeah, yeah. I'm wearing the wrong color if that's the case, but
Well, no, but you're wearing, I mean, red, white,
yes,
and blue, and you've
red,
got your
white, and
blue
blue. Oh,
background.
hey,
And I've
hey,
got
that's
my
right, that's right,
trans
that's
pride
right.
flag. Yeah. So yeah,
But
the whole thing.
but the thing the thing that I have learned is, and this helps with not feeling disillusioned or crushed when the thing that you really wanted to happen doesn't happen, because everybody has their pet issues and everybody has their, and not just pet issues, but things that maybe are really important to them personally that they really would like to see addressed. And if it's not addressed, or it's not addressed to the extent that they think it needs to be, it's really easy to just say, fuck it. The system is broken, and it's no point in voting for anybody and nothing makes a difference, and et cetera, et cetera. The trick I have found is not to compare the result that you get to the result that you wanted, but to compare the result that you get to the result you would have gotten if the other person had won.
Yeah.
Because yes, of course, everybody can dream about, well, they should have, the like Obamacare should have been single payer. Well, yes, of course it should have, but it wasn't. But is it more than we would have gotten if John McCain had been elected? I think so. You could talk about like Biden's climate change legislation, which as it stands is still like the most significant climate change legislation ever passed in this country. But I mean, does it go as far as it should? Well, no, of course not. Does it go as
There's
far as
always more
maybe
to
it
do,
needs to?
and that's
Yeah.
okay. I do
But
take
is it more
issue.
than we would have
Yeah.
gotten after Trump? If Trump had been reelected, would we have gotten anything? No, of course not. Like, you have to compare it to that, you know?
Well, I do think you have to do both. I think you have to be willing to do both, because that says, well, but also doing both in the context of the fact that it's not one person doing something. Like, Biden has
Oh, yeah,
faced
of
a lot
course.
of challenges in, that Republicans hold the House, and Democrats do not have a filibuster proof majority in the Senate. So a lot of what we're doing is preventing the Republicans from passing bad nonsense, and not just
Yeah.
nonsense, but just harmful stuff. So, and that's great. That's great. Good for Biden, and good for the Senate, just no, that wall is great. I appreciate that. But I think we talked about this on the phone earlier, the importance of, how important is it to, and how effective is it to present legislation that takes the position you want and is not going to pass because it goes too far, because that can create pushback, which can put you further back than you would have been, but it can also take a stand for, this is what we want, this is what we're going for, and people are like, oh, hey, that sounds kind of good, and can actually drum up some support. So knowing how much pushback you're going to get versus how much support it's going to get can actually tell you whether or not that's going to be an effective strategy. And of course, you can't really know unless you do it. So, but yeah. And Alice, absolutely, down ballot races,
very much.
Yes, 100%. And so speaking of down ballot races, there's an open school board seat in my community,
in your district.
In my school district. And I know of two progressive candidates. One is actually an active member of our local Democratic Party. So this is something that has happened. There is going to be an election. The seat's going to be up for election when we have elections, but the person who had the seat has resigned earlier this month. And so they are going to, the rest of the school board is going to appoint somebody. So they're interviewing candidates, and I know of two progressive candidates who put in applications and got interviews. And so I am hopeful. Please send your good vibes and positive wishes for someone who will work hard and be a pro education, not just pro right-wing nonsense person. So yeah. So yeah, there's that is a more immediate concern for me. But yeah, I've been, and there's been the initial was, I'm with her, or I got the assignment, or something like that has been trending, or I've seen it a lot. I don't know if it's trending or not, but the focus has moved in the last day from, I got the assignment to, okay, what do we mean by I've got the assignment? Does that mean, yes, we're voting for Kamala? What else does it mean? What else can we do? And people are asking these questions. So, text banking, canvassing, phone banking, postcards. So people are asking these questions, and other people are responding in comments, and threads and subtweets and things like that with, here's some links to some organizations you can support. Given that this is your channel, not mine, I would encourage you to put not just postcards to voters. Is that in the description already?
No.
Okay.
It will be. Well, because we are going to do a live stream at some point, a postcard writing live stream at some point between now and the election.
Yes, closer to the election.
Yeah.
If you wouldn't mind putting in a section of how people can support progressive candidates, I can send you some links. And if not, that's okay.
Of course.
It's your channel, not mine.
No, of course.
Yeah.
That's right. It is my channel. I'm tired of you bossing me around, telling me what to do, put things on my description, add this link to this. It's
I'm not telling you to. I'm just saying that you should.
I'm top man around here.
Well,
I'm top man around here.
I'm not the top man. I will agree to that.
You are. Yes, I would agree with that as well. Nathan, you know what? I have not seen The Boys. I keep telling myself I should watch it, but I just haven't had time to watch it, so I have not seen The Boys.
I'm probably not.
I think at this point,
let's be honest.
I think at this point, I'll just wait until the final season is out, and then I'll just watch the whole thing all at once. I'll do it. Cool, because I did that with Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. I put off watching Marvelous Mrs. Maisel until the whole thing was out, because I wanted to watch it. It sounded interesting, and then I finally watched it after the whole thing was up, and I was like, I'll just watch the whole thing, and that's what I did.
So yeah, Alex,
HP Haga. Let's sit up straight.
That's helpful. But we do teach about logical fallacies, but in my experience, it's not just knowing what fallacies are, but reflecting on what someone's saying and what point they're trying to get at, and also what response they're attempting to elicit from their audience, and how we can tell.
Right.
And really looking at reflecting on something before just responding to it. Yeah.
So shall we start the episode? We are at the 25-minute mark.
We're right where we should be. 2:55. Sorry, we're at where we usually are, and I'm ready to eat my pizza. Let's go.
Has it cooled down enough?
I don't know. I haven't tried it yet, so hopefully it hasn't cooled down too much, because although I do still like cold pizza, but yes, warm pizza and the bottom crunchy.
All right, don't get distracted by the fact that I just mentioned pizza once.
Focus. I like pizza. I like food. So if you've got the episode queued up, make sure it's all the way at 0. Steve's going to put a time code up here. So if something happens and you have to reboot, whatever, you can get synced back up with us.
Yep.
Hopefully most of you have already seen what we're watching, which is season 5, episode 12.
That's it. The Begotten.
I remembered the Begotten, that one. And so when Steve is going to count us in, once you've got it set up 0, 0, 0, 0, all the way at the beginning. And he's going to say 3, 2, 1, play, and we all could play at the same time. And if it's not perfectly synchronized, that's fine. If you're a second or two off, not going to matter. So and then we'll watch it and probably yammer. I will miss some things. Sorry, I'll be also paying attention to the chat here over on my screen and from time to time. So yeah, that's it. Let's go. Let's go.
All right. And but one thing real quick, Alex says, thoughts on doing a procedural Klingon cop show bit like the Starfleet lawyer. That is beyond my means at this point. I have neither the time nor the financial resources to do that and make it as good as I would want it to be. So that's a no from me, brother. For now, possibly at some point in the future, when I become a YouTube millionaire, maybe I'll do I'll do a a cop procedural, but not for right now. I do know what the next Starfleet jobs video will be. However, I haven't started writing it yet, but I have chosen it and I've ordered some costume pieces for it. So hopefully in the next couple of months.
Yeah, this is the one that I know what it is, don't I?
You know what it is, yes, but don't say. But you know what it is, yes.
I would say my lips are sealed, but they're not. But I won't tell.
Well, thank you.
Okay.
All right, everybody.
Let's go.
I'll count this down and we'll watch Deep Space Nine: The Begotten. Here we go. In 3, 2, 1, play.
Oh, beauty shot. I already know what ship looks like. Time for pizza. Oh, Shauna Sullivan asked what I teach language arts, so English. Steve, remember, Ryan, I want to talk about Anthem after.
Okay.
Pizza. Ooh, lights. I think Begotten has a great idea, Steve.
Starfleet naughty nurse.
No. Pizza. Alex, I'm so sorry. Oh, so good. Shauna Sullivan, you got to give me more. Yeah, they're both stories. They have actors. Okay.
There are similarities.
Suffer if you don't have pizza. Pizza, pizza, pizza. New name, I would definitely rank pizza above hamburger. Pizza typically has with the red sauce, which is, you know, kind of basic, that tanginess that a basic hamburger does not have.
Changeling baby. Aww.
Sean O'Sullivan actually did a video about that. It's one of my earlier videos on why I am not a member of the Grammar Police. Joe McClory. Ooh. So there is
Hamburger pizza is good.
There's a restaurant,
but so is a pizza burger.
Is no longer around. Bob's Brick Oven, you know, right down the way, in just a little place, and they had he had amazing pizzas. And one, I know he did a hamburger pizza, although he did all these weird kinds of pizza, and it was always amazing. But I would put pizza burger above hamburger pizza.
Yeah,
because
me
pizza
too.
burger usually adds the marinara sauce to the burger, whereas
Mm-hmm.
hamburger pizza often pulls the marinara sauce away and has like a cream based sauce. Like you might have some hamburgers will have mayonnaise, like it'll have like the ketchup, mustard, and sometimes mayonnaise as the base sauce, and then we'll have hamburger on it, and then American and or cheddar cheese mixed together. So you lose the tang with a hamburger pizza. With a pizza burger, it adds the tang into the burger. So
Pizza sub is really good too. That's one of my
so
favorites.
what's the difference between pizza sub and meatball sub? Okay, I guess you could just
Pizza
have
sub.
pizza sub.
A pizza sub doesn't have meatballs. It has pepperoni.
I would prefer the meatball sub to the pizza sub. I tend to like sausage pizzas or meatball pizza is better. Sausage often tends to be a little and pepperoni on the greasy side, whereas the meatball sub, perfect balance.
I mean, I'm not. I'm not gonna talk shit about a meatball sub either.
Shauna Sullivan, I do not even know how to pronounce that, so I'm going to say no. However, I will say there are very few foods that I have not at least appreciated, and almost all of them enjoyed. I like food.
New name, I guess so. Have you never had a pizza sub?
I mean, Evan, I would guess putting it on mixed green base instead of on bread. $2.55, I disagree, because Quark did not know that it was a living being or a sapient being, let's say. Nathan, he is right now. Hi, Francis, and welcome. He knows what he's doing. I think he's being a little overgenerous there. Yeah, 255 AD. There was definitely, or arguably, a ransom. You know, he had a prisoner for ransom.
Sean O'Sullivan, I'm not sure what chicken Maryland is, to be honest.
Vilcana, I don't remember who Dr. Mora is, so.
Doctor, you might recognize him when he comes back. It's Odo's.
Oh, okay.
It's Odo's father, or the scientist who adopted Odo. It's the closest thing to a father Odo has.
David, I will take your word for it. So yeah, Alex, what you mentioned about cinnamon and chili, I've had mincemeat, which has, I mean, like allspice is actually fairly commonly used with meat, and allspice and clove are sort of related in flavor profile to cinnamon. Oh, new name. That's fantastic. Well, I hope you enjoy your pizza sub.
Yes, I hope it's a good one. It's Mr. Miyagi's drum. I hate this hippie birth shit. Just go to a hospital.
Who's that?
Who's who?
The one that we don't know.
Oh, her?
The one. Yeah, her.
Nobody. She's just someone there. She's the midwife, I guess.
Okay. Space people, this is season 5, episode 12, something.
The Begotten.
The Begotten. I knew there was a B in there.
The rhythm is inside me. The rhythm is my soul.
Shut up, people talking. You're ruining the swooshies and the gading. If she's supposed to focus on the swooshies and the gading, then y'all need to not talk. Jeez.
Shut up. That baby will come squirting right out. Evan, that wouldn't make much sense since this is season 5, episode 12. I hope I don't forget and drink you. Malcolm McDowell, Sean. Oh, Caitlin beat me to it.
Not my beverage. Nicely done, Mike. Air One Fire, it looks like I could not.
You'd have to whip it, maybe thin it out with something.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a little thick.
Yeah.
It's a little, yeah.
And with that volume, it would getting it all the way down.
Yeah, it's like unset Jello at this point. Or you can just lay there looking like underdone scrambled
Nathan,
eggs.
what are we waiting for? Are we waiting for something? I don't know. Even if I don't know what I'm doing. It's a soliloquy, Caitlin, just like in Shakespeare.
There he is.
don't seem to think that that's hard. It's not.
Oh, what just acting to a pile of goo?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's easy. I mean, yeah, it's not as hard as you might think it is. Yeah.
I would think that, just the general issue of, having like an open area with a bunch of people in front of you and cameras everywhere is that is hard.
Yeah.
Pretending that a pile of goop is a person, piece of cake.
Easy. I was just going to tase it a little.
Shout out someone in Star Trek. I doubt they had difficulty finding people at the right height and build. And the hair, you can dye it and then you
it's not his real hair.
or that. Like in the Christmas Carol. That's it. Mr. I Love the Ends. It's a great idea. The pile of jelly is now Steve.
It's a good name for a pile of jelly, don't you think?
Absolutely. I always name the piles of jelly that I encounter Steve.
Yeah. When you humanize it so you can react to it better,
Absolutely. Oh. Odo, I think that you need to have a talk. Maybe he should go down to the Happy Bottom Riding Club and talk to the bartender. Disappointed. Help me. Sister Act. My brain is just going all over the place here. He's my deal. As a matter of fact, brain, go away. No, just not. Not relevant at all. But I want to have a baby. I'm tired of being pregnant. We didn't talk about the pregnant girls I have known. Darcy, was that her name? Gosh, it's been so long.
And yeah, Nathan, Dr. Mora, and Caitlin mentioned it too. Dr. Mora is played by James Sloyan, who is, not only did he play several roles in various Star Trek shows, but he's one of those actors who popped up all over the place on TV in the 80s and 90s. He's fantastic. He's always good.
Okay.
Motherfucker, don't come into my home and tell me how to play my little gong.
If you're not playing the gong correctly and she didn't have your baby because you played the gong wrong.
255 AD because she's not a horrible person. because she's not a fucking monster. I'm just gonna decant you here.
Careful, baby.
All right, your hot caramel is ready.
Now you're on the inside of the sphere. Soft, smooth.
Andrew, exactly. Why does Kira not simply eat the baby? It is not of her blood.
There are a lot of things that are not of my blood that I do not eat. Why?
255 AD because it's the way of her people.
To eat babies?
No, to have birth, to give birth in the dopey hippie way. Odo, I'm right here. It's a symbol of the Illuminati, whom I work for.
Did he say Mr. Pyramid becomes Mr. Cube?
He might have, yeah. She's
Just
talking to a
little
child.
boy.
He's trying to teach it. He's teaching it. It's like Sesame Street. Or Romper Room, really. I told you shouldn't have tried to free the Jello mold so soon, Odo.
Why is Dr. Mora even here?
To help. See?
You didn't know what his own good was. You're not a changeling either. Dumb butt. Nathan, I forgive you. Oh, Vilka, I was more thinking from for the in-universe perspective. Obviously, he's there as a foil to Odo. Steve, do we know how long changelings live typically? Steve,
Yes?
do we know how long changelings typically live?
No.
Okay. Nathan, this is season 5. Cisco, do I have permission to torture it? I am making progress. 17% growth. 18%. 18.7%. 19.4%. Well, Andrew, I think both matter.
I'll get the shock paddles.
Here's the thing. I don't care what Starfleet thinks. Evan,
well, he better care what Starfleet thinks, or Cisco might come in there and put that changeling on some pancakes and just cut this thing right off right now.
I don't think Cisco would do that. It's a sentient being. Sapient being.
Yeah, but look how delicious it looks. Can't you imagine just spreading it over some waffles? Look at it. Oh, so good.
So in that case, I'm with Odo. 17% in a week is fine. If you're immortal, your growth rate should not be that fast.
Yeah. Joey Ora, he can't link with it right now because Odo is a solid at this point. Jack up the juice, Odo. Come on, let's get this show on the road.
Why the hell are you quoting from the Bible?
He's an educated man.
Okay. Did you torture all the changelings in existence? They didn't learn from you.
But they're not here. That's right. Turn up the juice. Yeah.
Sean, exactly. Andrew Clang Odo is presumably an adult and does not need to grow. Piss off. Reach out and smack him, girl.
The time has come.
Like, don't just smack him, go for a throat strike at this point. Jeez.
You sucked.
Yeah. And then all feel bad for hurting it. Oh no. Close the door and put a chair in the way.
It's forming a tentacle like in the abyss. It turns into a hand, giving them both the middle finger. There's been a murder spree on the promenade.
Yeah, 255 AD, they've reverted to saying it, but they were saying he earlier. Yeah, that was. It's interesting that he does notice that and comment on it because it was clearly, based on the camera angle, we could tell it was responding to Odo, not to Dr. Mora. Evan, I mean, yes, but at the same time, they're not humans and the characters are speaking in English. So there are limits there to what they can do. And when it started, not necessarily, you don't know that. No one knows what would have happened.
Thanks to you.
Because you're a jerk. So I took my allergy meds a little while ago, but I didn't take them right before because I was in a rush before the stream. So I'm going to go off camera, but I'm going to keep watching. I'm going to mute. So, but I'm still here. Just right.
Okay.
Boop, boop.
Let's get drunk. So would that be a baby rattle?
It is definitely not a baby rattle. You don't give that to a baby.
But it's when the baby is about to be born, so it's a baby rattle. It's a rattle used in the birth of a baby. It's a baby rattle.
And it's a birth rattle.
Miles wants to see it. He wants to see it. He wants to be able to look up there at it.
Just throw the men out. Get rid of them. Just bye, men out. No more men. Snake McCat, did he say that he was wrong? I don't think he did.
He didn't say it, but he's clearly thinking about it. Acknowledge, not say.
He's acknowledging that Odo is is unhappy with how he was treated.
Well, and he also acknowledged the validity of Odo's methods as compared with his own.
Again, you don't mean still or more?
Join me in a kiwi strawberry snapple, my friend.
Okay, now I need to sit down. I'm drunk.
255 AD, obviously not all the drinks are replicated.
No. Yeah, I'm with Quark. No.
No.
Uh-huh. Of course. What?
Just added a little perfume to yours.
Cannot hold. Does that mean you're going to give me more money? No, Quark, don't confess. Yes, you can. You can take it. Don't confess to nothing. Never thought I'd be telling Quark to get a lawyer. You don't talk to cops. Everybody knows. Is this a truth serum? Are you trying to get me to confess to something? Because I was going to confess to something, but now I don't want to. Air on Fire, I'm glad you love this episode. It's not really a ball of goo. It's more like
I swear to God.
Oh. Aw, that's cute. Oh, that's interesting. That's really interesting. Uh-oh. It's feeling blue.
Are we sure it's not just sad? Well, I'll take it out of the microwave for a start.
No, it doesn't. Sometimes.
Okay, but you know that's not... Oh, my God. These are things that people say in these situations. Mr. I love the ants. I tried adding glitter. It didn't work. All right, I'm just going to reach my hand up in there and yank it out. 3, 2, 1.
Oh, God, that's so nebulous, but okay. Oh, my God, close the door in their faces. Oh.
Now, give me the traditional Bajaran birth corkscrew.
Wow. wow, Bajorans have a way easier time than humans.
Yeah.
They made a good choice there.
Yeah.
Kagu's like, damn, I want to be Bajoran next time I'm pregnant.
Yeah. She's like,
that is
I'm so glad that wasn't me.
That is hilarious. That is seriously hilarious. Oh, that's so funny.
I hope you don't mind, Odo, but I did drink some.
Just wanted to see what it tasted like. That's so wrong. Oh, that was really interesting. Which would make sense, though. Hmm. Azalea, I'm curious what you thought when you saw it again as a surprise. She said you better go.
Get out.
Yeah, I was like, what the? Oh, okay, Joey. That maybe kind of.
Yeah.
But then I figured it out. It's like a reverse pregnancy.
Yeah.
HB Hacka, most burbs are. Caitlin Quark didn't want to drink with Odo. I don't know that many people would.
Parenthood, am I right?
Ooh. Yeah.
The end.
I really liked that one.
Oh, I'm so glad. I like that episode a lot too. Tell me what you liked about it, and then I will tell you what I liked about it if it's different.
I really like Kira admitting that the reason that she doesn't want to, she doesn't feel comfortable at the party is because she had begun to think of that, she'd had that moment of my baby and knows that it's not. But that was a really good moment right there, and it felt really authentic. She delivered it really well. Right before Odo does the weird little wiggle and runs out of the room, you see this moment of hope and delight mingled on his face. That was really done well.
Yeah.
Not cool with Odo giving Dr. Mora as much of a pass as he did there at the end. Didn't like that. Although, I can see it as a response that some people might have, that might occur in that situation. But I'm just like, no, what you did wasn't cool. Regardless of whether or not I understand why you did it. I'm just, and I mean, I was physically punished when I was growing up, and I turned out fine, but just don't choose to hurt kids. I guess this is not. And I mean, as a teacher also, I'm very non-punitive. Like, the primary goal is make sure everybody's safe. And, if I had this related conversation with my principal, who was at new employee orientation, because he's new to our district, yesterday. And because I somehow talked about, because he asked me about my experience at the other high school in our district and then coming to this high school for the first time. So he was curious about changes. I said, I don't know if it's more due to COVID or due to teaching different levels of student, but attendance. And, we talked about the attendance policy, and I was like, removing students from class essentially. And I was like, I'm kind of not, please don't. But I mean, student safety, and if it makes other people not able to learn, okay. But and then of course legality, like if a student is smoking cigarettes on campus, it's a drug legally. You're not supposed to have nicotine, alcohol, marijuana, whatever, those types of drugs on campus. So if the cops got to be involved, then yes, they have to be. But I'm very much, the focus is on student learning, and just not making people grow by inflicting pain on them. No, just don't.
Well, and I mean, I think I take the position on it that Liz does in the chat in response to 255 AD's question about that. I don't read the episode as condoning what Dr. Mora did to Odo, or what they do in apparently a much more limited way to the baby changeling. I don't think the episode is saying see, the real life equivalent of this is the way to go.
No,
I think it's because it's about Odo and Dr. Mora. That's what the story is about. And it's about them each coming to a new understanding of the other. And Odo realizing, without forgiving Mora or saying that everything Mora did to him was right, Odo acknowledging that Mora is human and is flawed, and had, was not a monster, and was was not trying to harm Odo, even again, not to condone everything he did, but just to view him as a person, you know, and to acknowledge that that Mora does seem to genuinely care about Odo.
Mm-hmm.
And Mora had the equivalent experience of saying, you know, okay, like maybe the way I did it wasn't the right way, and the way you're doing it, Odo, even though I scoffed at it at first, you know, maybe there is validity to the way you did it because you established an emotional connection with this baby changeling that I never had with you. And you can tell that Mora clearly kind of regrets that he never had that connection with Odo. You know, so it's not about necessarily condoning anything that Mora did. It's about their relationship.
I would be interested to go back and maybe rewatch pieces of that with you, because I missed the regret. I didn't see where he expressed that.
Well, because you don't pay attention to the episode, you pay attention to the chat, and you just kind of watch the episode in your spare time.
Yeah. Well, I'm not like, you know, yeah, it's
you don't pay attention.
Yes, I do. I pay enough attention so that I can discuss it with people in the chat, because connecting with other people who are actually here is more important than analyzing the, you know, whatever is going on, the lighting, whatever in the scene.
Well, not the lighting, a character interaction.
Stop! I wasn't done. Shut your face.
Wow.
The lighting, the camera positioning, which I did talk about in some cases.
Yes.
The actors, which I did talk about in some cases, but every single moment, and ignoring the chat. No, that's not what I'm going to do. And you, you should be ashamed for implying that paying attention and focusing every single instant on the episode itself to the exclusion of the chat, that implying that would be preferable. Nope, not ever gonna happen. If y'all that's what you want, you're in the wrong place. That is never gonna happen, ever.
I'm so ashamed. I'm so ashamed.
Terrible liar. Jason would be ashamed of you right now, because that ain't even good acting.
I also want to mention the other half of 255 AD's question.
My name is Steve. Gotta make fun of Steve. Okay.
I want to mention the 255 AD's second question, and that's, is it a problem that the changeling is the emotional heart of the episode and it's literally a motionless blob? The changeling is not the emotional heart of the episode.
Oh God, no. I mean,
Odo and Mora are the emotional heart of the episode. And
I think that's what he was getting at. The changeling is like that plot line that Kira and the baby is the B plot. The changeling is the A plot.
Yes.
That's the center of the episode. I think that was the point. But yeah, the changeling, obviously we don't really get much of any reaction from the changeling. Although it is interesting to speculate about the ways that we do see the changeling respond and what we might extrapolate from that. Because of course the characters do too, which is interesting.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
Yeah. In all honesty, if you can remember this, because it's getting close to the beginning of school and I'm starting to get like antsy and excited, and I'm focused on that for the most part. But I really, in all honesty, I would like to go back to this episode with you at some point, which not super soon, because we have other stuff to watch coming up, which we'll talk about later, which I am looking forward to. But looking at what you found about where you talked about Dr. Mora expressing regret, or even just showing any sort of regret, because I didn't say it. Caitlin, I really did like the part. I mean, for me, it wasn't just, yes, obviously it was mimicking presumably Odo, but
it looked like Odo more than Mora. Yeah.
I did not notice that. They have similar enough features that it easily could have been Mora. Let's be honest.
Well, but Mora, I mean, Mora assumes it was Odo because Mora says you made the connection with it.
Right, but my point is that's more about its positioning. And that's where I was talking about the camera angles, which I brought up earlier. The fact that it changes to a different camera angle so that we can see very clearly that it is pointed at Odo, not at Mora. That's very important. You know, they want to make absolutely certain, you know, when we talk about narrative framing, that is a very clear example of narrative framing. By the way, audience, yes, not a coincidence. It's focused on Odo, not this dude over his shoulder. Like, it doesn't turn and go this. we can see that, and the camera changes angle to make sure that we get it. It's very important.
Yeah. If I can talk about why I like the episode for a minute.
Please do. I will shut up.
Let me know when actually, I'll give you the high sign. Caitlin brought something up in the chat after the episode was over that I agree with, which is the way they handle the parallel stories of Odo and Kira and their different experiences of parenthood, and then but like atypical parenthood and parenthood that ends with both of them not having a child at the end. They both have these parental experiences, but then at the end of the episode, neither one of them has a child. And with Kira, it's because she was a surrogate and now the child has gone to its parents. And with Odo, it's because the child that he had died or absorbed into him or whatever. And so in both cases, they're left without a child. And they have this wonderful coming together at the end. Yeah, that which you don't have to be completely silent.
I know.
Just don't go. I love it. Just don't go off on some soliloquy while I'm in the middle of making a fucking point.
You are so,
but
yeah.
But like it's they have this wonderful moment where I mean, it's obvious, but it's not obvious in a way where like they're smacking you in the face with it of like, see, both plots were kind of about the same thing. Like they allow the characters to kind of have this moment together, and it just works really beautifully. And I like the Odo and Mora stuff. I mean, I feel like the Kira story is mostly comic relief until the end when Kira says that to Odo in the hallway about how, she never wanted to have kids, and now that she's carried a child, now she feels like much closer to it than she expected she would. Like that's not a jokey moment, but the Kira story up to that point is focused on, Shakar and Miles bickering with each other, and it's been more of like a lighthearted story, and then it gets to a more emotionally real moment at the end. But I love the Odo Mora stuff. I love this episode. The only problem I have with the episode is that it does feel a little bit like the writers giving up on the Odo being a solid storyline, because Odo became a solid at the very end of the previous season. And then here we are not even halfway through the next season, and they've already said, okay, that's enough. He's a changeling again. And I remember thinking when I watched this episode for the first time, when it was on TV back in the 90s, I had the same thought. I thought that was a beautiful episode, but man, it feels like they're giving up on the Odo being a solid bit really fast. And I don't know if that was their plan all along, or if they were having trouble writing him, or they felt like, well, this actually isn't as narratively fruitful as we thought it would be. So let's just have him go back to being a changeling again. Because, other than little things like Odo having to adjust to wear clothes and Odo having to adjust to being able, to get sick or to have back pain or whatever, like they did some little character beats to sort of explore Odo being a solid instead of a changeling, but they didn't really do anything major with that. It was just kind of, well, Odo's a solid now, just so you know, and then after a dozen episodes, they switch him back and it's like, anyway, he's not a solid anymore. So, I mean, the way they did it was lovely. Like the way they had it happen with the baby changeling dying and sort of passing its shape-shifting abilities onto Odo, like that's a beautiful way to do it. But it just feels like they're just wrapping up that story. Like, all right, you know what? We got nothing for the Odo solid thing. Let's just get out of this and do something else,
So I want to,
yeah, go ahead, please.
It felt like you were finished. Okay. I want to address that last point first. Because it feels like they may have run out of, okay, Odo as a solid storylines and been like, okay, we don't want to keep him as a solid just for the sake of having him be a solid, because we already have plenty of those. And if that's not going to be a part of the story, why have, I can kind of understand it from the perspective of wanting to make, knowing that you're going to do it sometime in the future, And I mean, if they have, I don't know where we're going with this. If they have some other Odo as a changeling, Odo as a shifter stories that they wanted to get to, that they were excited about, I can see doing that quickly. But the other thing is, for me, I think Azalea said that, it felt like they did that pretty quickly. For me, not so much, because remember, we've watched like all of season 5. And so for me, this feels like, 2 or 3 seasons worth of material here, because we skipped so many of the other, you know what I mean? So so it's interesting that you said that, and I'm like, I can understand how you would feel that way. If you hadn't mentioned it, I would not have thought, oh, wow, he didn't stay a solid for very long, just because we haven't skipped as many episodes with this season. Yeah. So proportionally, it's been a, longer period of, time for me. I also wanted to bring out a couple of points, talking about Kira's change of mind. And that's something that I have thought about as somebody who theoretically, possibly could be pregnant. Could have gotten pregnant at some time. Not could be pregnant. I'm pretty confident that I couldn't be pregnant, given the timing of certain monthly,
yes, indeed,
phenomena.
But yes.
But I don't know of any research, but there is a lot of narrative evidence that pregnancy and birth literally change you. Mm-hmm. Like, I'd never wanted to be a parent, but now, this is what I want more than anything else. I love my kids more than I could have imagined loving another human being. And those are all relatively common phrases. And as someone who has never been interested in raising children, that thought is a little bit scary, because I like who I am. And the thought that some process that happens to me could change me into hopefully someone that I would also be happy with, but a different version of me, is a little more than a little unsettling. So that's, for me, that's a particularly interesting thing when she talks about that. I like, that's interesting. And so I think those were the only points that I wanted to bring up, but I wrote them down so that I wouldn't be, I would be less tempted to interrupt you, and I wouldn't forget them.
But 2D5AD has another. Go ahead.
Yeah, the idea that, I'm hopeful that the writers just were like, they had some Odo as a non-solid stories that they were really excited about and wanted to get to. So hopefully those will be coming up.
And what actually, I'll respond to 255AD in a second, but since you mentioned that, David Corrigan said, if that was the case, I actually respect the writers for realizing a plot thread wasn't working and ending it instead of doubling. Yeah, me too. I just want to make it clear. Like, it feels like an abrupt ending to that phase of Odo's character. But if the reason was that they just realized, oh, we actually don't have as much for this Odo being a solid story as we thought. And they ran out of other stories to tell. Yeah.
Then
you should wrap it up. You shouldn't drag it out longer than it should be. So, if that was the case, then it was the right decision, but it feels like it was awfully quick.
I can see because not every episode has to be, or even is, about Odo. And so I can see, I don't know when the last Odo deals with his, conflict and sense of loss, blah, 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 or there's something else that goes on, so how many episodes you have to be before it's just like, oh, we're just treating Odo like he's any other solid character on, any other human character on the show.
Right.
And it starts to feel pointless that he used to not be human. So yeah. And Philip, not exactly. Yes, beyond physical changes to the body, but there is, the idea of even identity is something that we don't, I don't even want to say that we don't fully understand it, because we barely understand it at all. Yeah. Our body is, a mass of cells, each like individual kind of sort of organisms, but they're not individual organisms. They're like incorporated into our sense of identity. And then if we go down below the cellular structure and look at, molecular and atomic structure, we're just all part of the universe. But somehow this part of the universe is me, and that part is not. And how that works, we don't know. There is so much that we don't know.
I think the thing I was thinking of when you were...
Hang on to that, please. I'm almost done. There's a connection between the physical and our sense of self that we don't understand, but there's some kind of connection there. So when we say physical changes to the body, I'm talking about physical changes to the body that change our outlook on life, a lot of our psychology and our sense of who we are. So there you go. Now I'm done.
Yeah. Well, no, I was just going to agree with you. I mean, I think it's the way I always look at it is we are naturally very disturbed by reminders of how contingent our identities are. Like we think of ourselves as, well, I'm me, and me, that's a solid, immutable thing, you know, but it's not. Now it feels like it's solid and immutable, and we go through our lives sort of under that assumption for the most part. It's much easier to move through the world if you just assume that who you are is a solid, constant, static thing, but it's not. And it's contingent on so many things, including maybe more than anything, your biochemistry. And if you are a person who gets pregnant and has a child, and that alters your biochemistry, that changes who you are. Now you're still you, but you're different. And there's nothing you can't control it, you know, and that's a little disturbing when you think about it, because we don't like to think of ourselves as being that subject to change, you know, but we are.
I think that's you are probably right for most people, and I'm not most people, and there are many instances in which I don't react or behave or respond like most people, and I think this is one of them, because like I'm okay with change. It is inevitable. It is what it is. But like I said, I like who I am. And even in a sense of positive change, in changing to a different, maybe better version of myself, I would lose this self.
Yeah.
And the self that I am feels a sense of loss of that. And feels if there's any sense of uncertainty or discomfort, it's that maybe this new self, if this new self is better, wouldn't miss me. And that's hard. Like that's really, like I'm getting choked up thinking of that
because
this new better self that I am wouldn't miss who I used to be. And part of that is also because I don't remember stuff. I have very few memories of, I ask lots of questions about, wee small Steve, because I really don't remember wee small Dana.
Yeah.
She's just gone. So, yeah. Oh, avocado, that's real sweet.
I want to mention a couple of super chats, and then I finally will get back to 255 AD's question.
Shoot.
Kirok has a member message and a super chat. Says Dana. By the way, Dana really liked the episode. Kirok,
I really did. This is probably one of my favorites.
Oh, and good. Some of that, I'm so glad.
Oh, thank you. Some of that is because it provides so much fodder for conversation and things like that. And y'all know that's I don't pay attention to the episode all the time. I really like responding to what you guys say about it, what you notice, and things like that. So,
and yes, and Kirok, I know what you're talking about. Yes, there are things in the episode that are thrown into a slightly different light in a couple of episodes. We can talk about that when we get there. I know exactly what you mean. I actually don't find those things as interesting as a lot of people do, because I think a lot of it is the result of the making it up as they go along effect, but it's still worth talking about. So we'll talk about it when we get there. And Stephen G. Clenard with a member message says, "Hey, Steve, taking you up on your offer. Be there in 30 minutes. Hope you got a lot of beer on ice. Going to need it to get through your Phil Collins playlist." It's not, I can't do it tonight, man. You're going to have to turn around. After this live stream, I'm just watching wrestling and going to bed. And I also, I haven't had enough notice to stock up on Natty Bo. So you're just going to just sleep in your car, for a few days. And then I'll let you know when it's a good time. And yes, and by the way, yes, Caitlin mentioned it and a couple other people have asked. Yes, we are definitely watching For the Uniform. That is the next Deep Space Nine episode we're watching. For the Uniform.
Oh, wow.
We absolutely, We are not skipping for the uniform. And yes, because I would never skip an episode where we get to hear Avery Brooks deliver one of his all-time over-the-top line readings.
Oh, it's that line!
You betrayed your uniform! Like, how would I would just watch that line on repeat for an hour. Yeah. He's
real
great.
Quick. Caitlin, I think that's different, or at least it was for me. So at some point, I know we're sort of wrapping up, and Steve, I do want to point out,
yes,
I don't know why, but my computer is not charging, so we do need to wrap up.
Okay, we're on a clock. Okay.
Yeah. So just FYI. So and Caitlin also says that I am right, that at least that half of the enjoyment is in the discussion. So I'm totally getting it. So there, Steve.
I guess that makes you happy, doesn't it?
It really does. Because you know what Caitlin said?
She said,
you know what
she said, are you ready? Oh, wow.
Oh, I'm so ready.
She said that you were right, Dana. Okay, finally, 255 AD's question, and then we'll play not Wordle. Remember, we're trying out Word Master this week.
That's right.
But anyway, so 255 AD said a few minutes ago, would the episode be better or worse if the changeling learned to take solid form and talk before it died? Worse. I think it's
100%. I'm with Steve on that.
Yeah. And very important that the changeling never actually talks. No, it says what it needs to say through its actions.
Yeah, well, and also as Caitlin was saying about the discussion, the fact that it doesn't say anything allows us to talk about, the very little bit that it gets to do and what that means, and allows us to think about that and reflect on that and offer our own interpretations and what we notice, and really invites us to pay more attention to those little things because they're so little, because it's so indirect. So before, just in case, I would much rather miss the game than talking about things that are coming up. So
good idea.
Yes. So don't forget, next Wednesday, same time, we're going to be watching Poirot. We're going to be finishing up the ABC murders. What?
Yes. So part 2 of the ABC murders.
Really stoked. It's really been enjoyable. This is one that I'm a little bit more familiar with. I love that. But also, this Friday is not an Ask Away, but it's a live stream. We are getting together. We are watching another Star Trek episode, but this is going to be an episode of Prodigy? Discovery?
Strange New Worlds.
One of those. It's one of the new ones. Strange New Worlds. Which episode are we watching, Steve?
It's called Lift Us Where Suffering Cannot Reach.
Right. So it's the one that is somehow connected to, or a riff on, or whatever, Ursula Le Guin's The Ones Who Walk Away from Omelas. Indeed. I am so excited about this. I'm sure I will have lots to say, and I'm really looking forward to it. So same time Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern as usual.
That's right.
And then of course next week we have Ask Away. So if you are a member of the channel or a patron, so you can click the button or go to patreon.com/Steve Shives and you can become a member. And then you can send in a question that Steve will read live on the air and answer to the best of his ability. So yeah, that's a great way. And then also don't forget to check in the chat. There are a number of nonprofit organizations and charities that you can support. And let's not forget, of course, charitylinks.page. We have some friends and associates who could use some financial support. So if you have the ability to financially help people. Yay, it's a good thing.
Yes, indeed.
And now.
And also, and Kirak brought it up in the chat. Yeah, this weekend is the hangout. Yes.
Holy
this
bonkers.
This Sunday is the hangout. The monthly patron and member hangout. Yeah.
Next Friday is my first day back at school. So
Ooh, how time flies.
Amen. Kirak, yes, you have missed it, but that's okay. We're so glad that you're here. I really, really, really like this episode. This might be my favorite.
It's a really good episode.
Star Trek episode. Full stop.
I'm really glad you liked it that much. That's great. It is a really good episode.
And I like the way the A and B plots kind of came together at the end.
Yeah. Caitlin refers to the Strange New Worlds episode we're watching as the definitely not Omelas episode. I can't believe it's not Omelas.
Oh my gosh. I showed you that clip of from the Vicar of Dibley, right? The I can't believe it's not butter joke. Oh my gosh. Y'all, we need to, I'm going to reference that. Oh, and I didn't talk about Anthem or about Darcy, but that's okay. We if I'm not, if my computer doesn't putz out, we can talk about that after we play our game.
Okay, so
So
we're going to play. This is usually where we play Wordle, but we discussed last time because of the New York Times being kind of crummy. We're going to play we're going to play the great value version of Wordle, which is there's many different alternate versions of Wordle that are basically the same game, but the one we're going to play tonight is my favorite non-Wordle Wordle. It's called Word Master, and here it is.
woo!
And it's the exact same game, just looks a little different, but the rules are exactly the same. And the way we're going to play is exactly the same as we usually play, which is that Dana is not actually seeing the Word Master board like everybody watching is. She's going by my description. And we will play as a group. Now, because Wordmaster is not as prominent as Wordle, and also I'm not entirely sure if there's a new puzzle every day or if they just give you a random one when you go to the website. I think we're less in danger of somebody having already solved it and being able to give it away. But just in case you think you know the solution to the Wordmaster puzzle we're about to play, please don't give away the answer or give us any hints. But otherwise, you can play along and hopefully we will solve it together. So, having said all that,
yes, let's go for my traditional first of heart. Traditional first of heart.
Yes, indeed. Okay, heart gives us an E in the wrong place, and that's it.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Well, let's go for lions then.
Lions. Oh, shit. Lions gives us an I, O, N, and S, all in the wrong place. But now we have all 5 letters. Just none of them are in the right place.
Silone? Oh gosh.
No, there's no L. There's an I, an O, an N, and an S. No.
Okay,
L.
Thank you. That was.
So, it's got to be noise. It's got to be noise.
Yeah.
It's got to be noise.
I mean, it doesn't. There might be another one, but noise sounds great.
Let's try noise. It's noise.
Yay! Go us. We are so awesome. Caitlin, thank you for that. I was like, okay, wait, there was a letter that was missing. Which one was it? Phew. Yeah, it's hard. Let me tell you, just trying to hold everything inside your head. Guys. And yes, Caitlin came up with the first, but everybody agrees. Yay, go us. We're so fantastic. Yeah, so Begotten points out our used words list is reset. So we might actually, now that we're
keeping track,
we might come up with heart again as the first word, and it'll just be it.
Hey, that's right. It's entirely possible. Or sometime
if heart gives us nothing, it might be lions. Because since this is not Wordle, they might use plurals.
It's possible. I'm not sure if the rules differ or not, but yeah.
I don't know. Because I know one of the knockoffs that I've got on my phone, I think my phone's plugged in the bedroom. I just realized I'm not entirely sure where my phone is. So once we get done here, I'm going to go see if it's plugged in the bedroom or if I need to like panic, find your phone. Go through the house in a panic. I don't know if you saw me making faces earlier, but my laptop is now charging and I'm at 30%. Oh, good. So I'm okay. So I did want to bring up, something else in addition to the whole Biden steps down thing, which over the last week, which is a big thing. I also went back and for whatever reason, I went and I looked at the master schedule again and realized that I do not have 3 sections of English 2. I have 1 section of English 2 and 2 sections of English 1.
Oh, wow.
Which I've taught before several times, comfortable with freshmen. Freshmen are great. But I haven't taught in a while. And secondly, I have not taught at this school. So last year, one of the things that we did was we came up with pacing guides. We said that all of the English 2 college prep classes are going to read these texts. Here are the pre-created tests that each English 2 class will give to them. Each English 1 will have these texts and they will read these texts. And here are the tests for them. So I have my curriculum and we're reading Ayn Rand's Anthem.
Ooh.
Exactly.
Yuck.
So I've posted in some of my English teaching Facebook groups, but I'm like, I don't want teachers that are going to go to. Some people have been like, can you just not? I'm like, So
Really?
not sure that the bank accepts I was standing by my principles instead of payment. So I kind of would like to keep my job. But the other thing,
Yeah.
and I mean, some people have said, you know, you need to find your way into it because sometimes that's how it is. And the truth is, I mean, I hated Julius Caesar for several years and I faked my way through it until I came at it with the angle. What occurred to me was,
Yeah.
what's really interesting about this is that Shakespeare took a familiar story and he took the villain of the story and made that person, that character, the protagonist. Because in Dante's Inferno, Brutus and Cassius are in the deepest part of hell with Judas Iscariot.
With
like
Judas,
they're equal. Yeah, they're
like,
with Judas, okay?
So
like
so the guy who fucked over Jesus is just as bad as the people that betrayed Julius Caesar.
I think he's like a little bit lower in that.
He's kind of
part.
In the middle, right? He's like
he's
yeah,
the head out of
yeah.
those three. He's the head of the triumvirate, to use a Julius Caesar word. Well, anyway, so Shakespeare's like, yeah, you know, this guy, like the Darth Vader, the Voldemort. We're gonna tell his story from his perspective. We're gonna make him the hero. Yeah. And then on top of that, he calls it the tragedy of Julius Caesar. Like, you know, the tragedy of Romeo and Juliet, the main characters, the tragedy of Macbeth, the main character. Yeah. So like the audience goes in thinking they know this story. And they're like, huh, you know, we're seeing a lot about Brutus and getting his point of view and understanding why he did things and really, you know, looking at him as a person. And we're, you know, an hour in and the main character's dead. You know, it's like Ben Affleck in Shakespeare in Love, where he goes, you know, where the Shakespeare character tells him, you know, he dies with such poetry. And he dies like halfway through. What is this? This play is called Mercutio, right? No, it's not. So yeah, once I hit that, I was like, I've got this. And I really have loved teaching it ever since. Still definitely with some of my more less skilled readers, it's just hard to get them. I mean, you got Caesar and you got Cassius and you got Casca and you got Cicero, who isn't even in it. And like, it's like, okay, which one of the C characters is this? I don't know. It's like, I'm so sorry. I can't help you with that. It's their historical figures. You just got to deal.
I didn't name them, kid.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. So I'm hoping, and there are some really good ideas. Apparently the Centennial Edition has like a foreword that talks about
You're talking about Anthem now.
Yeah, that is it objectivism? Whatever,
objectivism.
her
yes. Yeah. Her horseshit philosophy.
Yeah, has a thing on that. And I've looked at this perspective. I've had when I taught English to way back, I did a unit on dystopian literature, and I had Uglies, and I had City of Ember, and I had 1984, and I think Anthem was one of the picks. And I did not include Brave New World because there's a lot of sex in that, and I wanted to keep my job. And Animal Farm, and I think there were like two others. Little Brother by Cory Doctorow. So like a whole bunch, and I had them in small groups, and each group read a different book. So I've worked with the idea of individuality versus community a lot at the sophomore level. This is going to be a freshman, so I'm going to be looking at it, I think, through that lens. But one of them suggested front loading with maybe a simplified version of that essay, essentially introducing this and then looking at it saying, okay, we know this is her perspective. How can we tell? Where's the example of her trying to show us that her point of view is right? And then using that as a way to develop the skill of, like we talked about earlier, engaging with text and information critically and thoughtfully and reflectively.
Yes. So not just accepting whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. My worry is that depending on how low some of my readers are, that they just look, I just want to know what the hell's going on, and they just kind of accept it without question, and it starts to take root then, and that's not cool.
Yeah. I mean, I count myself incredibly lucky that when I was in school, I somehow managed to not have to read either Anthem or The Hobbit. I dodged both bullets. Actually, and I know The Hobbit was taught by one of the freshman English teachers, just not the one that I had. Ka-ching. I don't think anybody taught Anthem at our school. But The Hobbit was one, and I was like, oh, thank fucking Christ, I didn't have to read that fucking thing. But yeah, so, well, good luck with that. And hopefully it's like either it just, none of your kids don't internalize it at all, or the ones that do internalize it grow out of it. Yeah. Because that's the best you can hope for with Ayn Rand. Like, well, if you read it when you were a kid and you thought it meant something, hopefully you grow out of that.
Yeah. Know? And somebody said, it's so sophomoric. I'm like, great way to connect, because often it's, it's sophomore literature.
Yeah. Well, it was a high school book where I come from, Andrew.
Joe McClory, it's kind of not cool just to be like, okay, this philosophy is wrong, and to just let students know that this philosophy is wrong, is harmful and weak and poorly thought out. Andrew Klang, I would say that no, I'm going to just flat out disagree with you. Brutus is positioned as a tragic hero in Julius Caesar, full stop. I mean, he's a tragic hero in terms of classical literature. Yes, he fulfills that. He fits that, not archetype so much as character type. Yeah.
Kirok with a super chat says, the worst thing about Biden dropping out is I wasted 3 ask-aways fighting Steve on Biden versus Trump. Well, but now we can come together. Now we can unify. So
yeah. And one other thing. So this story time. So this. Before I came down here, I worked in a group home for young women who, or I guess, as it happened, they were all relatively young. Of course, now that I'm in my 40s, they all seem really young. For young women who were pregnant and needed support.
Yes, and I remember.
And so one of them, she would go on and on about she's tired of being pregnant, she's ready to have this baby. Until one evening when I was there, and it came time to go to the hospital and have the baby. And she grabbed the other staff member's hand. She said, nope, I'm not ready. I'm not ready to have this baby. This baby can stay in here for months. I'm not ready. I just remember when Kira was talking about how much longer. I'm so ready not to be pregnant. I'm like, just wait until labor comes. And then, of course, labor came. It's like, be calm. And it just kind of happened. I'm like,
yeah.
Oh, that's it?
I'm glad that that's one thing. I mean, I'm glad that they did it that way, because it kind of subverts that trope. They didn't do the birth episode where she's like, I hate you. Why did you put this baby inside me? I'm gonna, you know what I mean? They didn't do like the angry, impassioned birth.
Like when she asked Keiko for a favor, I'm like,
no, that would have been a good twist.
For her to ask Keiko for her hand, for her to like crush Keiko's fingers.
This is your baby. This should have been you. Why did you do this to me? Yeah, that would have been an interesting twist.
Yeah, I know, but I liked what we got. I did like what they did, and I was, it definitely caught me off guard. And that was another thing I really liked about the episode. That subversion was chef's kiss, no notes.
Steven, there's a liquor store on Virginia Avenue. You should probably hit that one, and just don't park on the grass. Park out front of the house. Don't park on the grass.
Oh yeah, Steve's pulling the get off my lawn type things.
No, just don't get on my lawn. Don't get on it, and you won't have to get off it.
All right. So yeah, don't forget, everybody. Yes, next week as usual, but even before then, this coming Friday, Strange New Worlds, and this coming Sunday, we have a patron hangout at noon. So not the usual time. Well, I mean the usual time for the patron hangout, but
the usual time for that. But yeah. And by the way, and there's a link. I set up the live stream for the Friday show, the Strange New Worlds watch along already. There's a link to it in the description of this live stream. So if you want to go ahead and set a reminder for yourself so you don't miss it, because that's going to be. I'm really looking forward to watching that episode with you, because I hope
And
you
same
like
to-
it, and even if you don't, I hope that it's
Yeah.
it inspires
If
some
nothing else,
conversation.
we can talk about the essay / short story / whatever
yeah.
that ended.
Knowing what a Le
But-
Guin head you are, I am really, really anxious to talk about it with you from that angle. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to it, everybody. And I hope you all can make it. And if not, leave comments and Steve, let me know if somebody leaves comments for me and I will 100% come over and I'll just back in the comments.
She definitely will, folks.
I do.
She definitely
I absolutely will. Thanks so much for being here, everybody. I really enjoyed this episode. I'm really glad. This was great.
I'm so glad. All right. We'll see you Friday, everybody.
Yay!
Bye-bye.